Probably tell you more about her work than I can, but I've enjoyed working with her, and I know that she'll be able to bring some really enlightening tips and lessons learned for you about social media as it relates to news writing. So let's welcome her.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to be very casual, so feel free to stop me, ask questions. I wrote down a few tips, and I'll go through that, and we can chat as long as you like. But just give you a little bit of information about me. Like Anna said, I am a media specialist here at UAB in the Office of Media Relations. And that means I find out about all the cool stories, the cool things that are taking place here at UAB. And I tell the world via press releases, news stories, blogs, tweets, etc. And the Media Relations Department here at UAB is made up of all former journalists. My background, I was a newspaper reporter for the Birmingham News. I wrote features and fashion, even though you probably can't tell now. It's been years ago. But we have people in our department who were TV reporters, radio journalists, etc. So we have taken the UAB campus and divided it up into beats, like Anna said. And on my beat is most of the College of Arts and Sciences, which is social, sciences, humanities, also have the School of Education, student involvement, etc. So we serve kind of like as journalists. We go and we troll our beats and find out what's going on, and we tell the world about it. So I am old enough to remember working in newspaper and public relations when our main way of communicating and getting our message out was via fax machine. So I remember in PR, I was sitting in front of a fax machine, and this was before you can fax to multiple phone numbers. We would sit and just send out the fax and send it out to folks locally and regionally, and God forbid nationally, because if that's the case, we would be at the fax machine all day. And you worry about paper jams and ink stains and things like that. But social media has totally changed the way we communicate, the way journalists communicate, the way PR people communicate, and it is an exciting new world because we have definitely come a long way, baby. Now, using social media, we can target specific audiences, we can identify trends that are going on, we can start conversations. So it has tremendously helped me with my job. And so I use social media professionally and personally. And I'll give you a little bit more information about that. But first, I'd like to let you know that I got my job here at UAB via LinkedIn. And I know folks say that all the time, but it is true. I started here in 2010, December 2010, but before that I was a freelance writer working for myself and was thinking about going back into the workforce and looking on websites for job openings, yada, yada, yada. But there was a higher up here at UAB who sent an exclusive tip to her LinkedIn folks. She said, we have a couple of openings in the communications department. If you're interested, hit me up. And so I immediately responded, and she told me you need to go ahead and apply, and the rest is history. So LinkedIn helped me get my job here at UAB. So considering that, make sure if you have LinkedIn, first of all, if you don't have LinkedIn, you need to run out and go get LinkedIn, especially if you're looking for jobs in the future. Make sure you keep it up to date. Make sure you reach out to people you don't know necessarily but want to get to know, people who can help you get a job, people who can be future colleagues, because LinkedIn is a great way to reach out and get those jobs. Back in the day, that's because I'm so old, I used to go in a room with lots of business cards and pass out business cards. Hi, I'm Marie Sutton. I'd like to connect with you. I'd like to get to know you. But LinkedIn is that's how we do it now. That's a social way of taking your business cards and connecting with folks. You can follow up. You can say, here's my resume. This is what I do. This is what I'm interested in. So jump on LinkedIn, keep it up to date, and also write recommendations for folks. Social media is social. So you do something for someone, they'll do something for you. You write a recommendation for someone you've worked with, and they'll oblige by doing the same. And also, if they do something kind to you, say thank you. Use the social media. It's all about showing that socialness and that hospitality, especially here in the South, since you know we know how to do that well. Now, professionally, In the Media Relations Department, we have a dynamic website. It's uab.edu/news. And we consider our website the al.com of university, medical, and research news. Our stories on there are up to date. We have photos, we have our Twitter feed, blog posts. Every day, multiple times a day, we are updating our website, and we consider ourselves a news source. And gone are the days of the PR speak, the flowery language. The stories that we're generating are stories that can run in any newspaper across the country. Like I said, we're all former journalists, and what we are creating is something that can stand up against any news story that's out there, because we consider ourselves now as a medium. In our department, we consider ourselves as a news source. It's a mini newsroom that's going on there. So, like I said, up-to-date photos, up-to-date news stories. We are constantly putting that out there and actually considering ourselves in almost competition with the media, because we want people to come to us and we want to be that source for university, medical, research news. And so if you want to get into communications, similar to what I'm doing, you have to know how to write and write tight. You know, like Anna says, I am a writer and I love to write, and it's easy to just go on and on and on and on and on. But these days, people want to read copy that is short, tight, concise, and gets the point across. And so that is a challenge that we have to do. And also, we have the challenge of creating news stories, creating press releases, and we don't even necessarily use the term press release anymore. We consider them news stories. So we have the challenge of creating a news story or press release and reconfiguring it and making sure we can get more mileage out of it. So we're going to tweet it out. We're going to put it on Facebook. We're going to come up with more innovative ways than just, okay, I've written this story, that's it, I'm going to send it out. No, we're going to send it out to the media, but we're going to also find different audiences. So, for example, UAB News, at UAB News, that's our Twitter account. We have 6,968 followers. So we will be foolish to not take advantage of that. When we write a news story, we send it out to our news sources locally, statewide, and nationally. But we have students who are following us. We have freelance journalists. We have other universities who are following us. We have bloggers and people from all walks of life who can take this story and give it more legs, and who can present it in front of their audiences. Each of you has an audience. So I have, I think, almost 2,000 followers on Facebook. So if I put something on my Facebook, personally, this is just my personal, then that's my audience. So we create something, we want to get it to the media, and hopefully the media will do their job of presenting it to their audiences. But we want to also get it in front of other folks who each have their own audiences. So that's giving our story so much more legs. So on a day-to-day basis, our task is to generate a story, but we tweet out our news stories, like I said. So our headlines are always 140 characters or less. Whenever we generate a headline, it is a tweet. So that's the way, that's what people are doing nowadays. Your headline is no longer dog bites ball, but it is a story within itself. It is something that can be tweeted out. And hopefully less than 140 characters, because we are hoping that people will retweet. And so we want to keep it short enough so that people can retweet that information. And so we tweet out the stories, which helps us reinforce our message. And we also have our own Bitly account. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Bitly. And so Bitly helps us to shorten our links and to be able to post our stories on Facebook and tweet them out, etc. And then also helps us manage how many clicks those links are getting. And also, whenever we get news coverage, if AL.com writes a story about one of our professors or the New York Times, then we retweet our coverage. So again, that's taking it to the next level. We're retweeting what people are talking about in regards to what we're doing. Also, what we do on a daily basis, we engage with our social media followers. We are trolling Facebook, trolling Twitter to find out what people are talking about. If they have a question about what's going on with the Arab Spring, and we know we can answer that question because we have a professor who can do that, we engage in that conversation. We talk to them, and hopefully that can provide them with information, but also maybe cause a news story. I remember Sanjay Gupta's folks, y'all familiar with him with CNN, they were talking about, they were looking for innovative folks, young, dynamic folks who are doing some pretty cool things. And I said, boy, I got somebody who's cool and innovative. I was talking about Dr. Sarah Parkak. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she is a very young, dynamic archaeologist here at UAB who has discovered lost pyramids using satellite imagery. So I saw the tweet from Sanjay Gupta's folks, and I responded back in a direct message, and they were excited. We followed up, and she was interviewed by him, and she was on CNN last year. So we constantly troll Facebook, find out what people are talking about, what are the trends, and we try to engage in that conversation and try to take it to the next level and say, you know what, you got a problem, we got a solution, and we got someone who can talk to you about it. Also, when there are events on campus, a part of my beat is student involvement. So when Common, the hip hop artist who I love, when he came to UAB a couple of weeks ago, I was there tweeting out his phrases, talking about what he's doing. Common was there and he freestyled about UAB, talking about the food in the cafeteria and things like that, and I tweeted it out. And the media, they retweet that stuff. The students retweet it. And so again, we're engaging in that conversation, giving the Common news story more legs and more of a reach. And so we do that a lot. We attend events, retweet, and tweet live. Also Facebook. We have a Facebook account. We post our stories on Facebook. And so with every story we create, we always make sure we have a dynamic photo or a video. Because you know, Facebook is all about visuals, stories, and photos and videos. So we don't put anything out there without a photo or a video, and that makes it very friendly for Facebook. Also, we have a Vimeo account and YouTube account. We have folks on our staff who worked as videographers and photographers for major news stations. And so not only do we have writers in our department, we have folks who put together dynamic video packages. And we make sure we keep our videos to about 2 to 2.5 minutes because we know folks are busy. They don't want to see a 5-minute video package necessarily unless it is just awesome. And even though everything we do is awesome. But we try to make it our goal to keep everything to about 2 to 2.5 minutes, and we'll tweet out those videos. We'll put them on Facebook to give them more mileage. And on our website, we give folks the option to Facebook or tweet all of our stories. When you go to our stories on our website, we have little icons there so that, oh, I'm reading this story about grandmas on Facebook. I did a story about a sociologist here who works with the elderly, 80-year-old folks who are getting on Facebook, going to YouTube, checking out old Fred Astaire videos, and really getting into social media. And I did a story about that, and so we put that on our website, and folks were tweeting it out and putting it on their Facebook, and actually we got a lot of media coverage from that. But everything we do, we give folks the option to Facebook it out or tweet it out. And we're always trying to find innovative ways to use social media. We're currently putting our heads together, trying to find a way to respond to the new way media is being done. As I'm sure you know, the Birmingham News has gone to 3 a day, and everything now is being online, going away with newspapers as we know it. And so in communications, what we do, we put our heads together and we say, how do we respond to this? How do we reinvent ourselves in response to the trends that are happening in the media? So we're looking at Pinterest, and we're looking at different things now to figure out how we can use that as an outlet to get our message across. And hopefully we'll have some news about that very soon. Personally, I have a blog. It's mariesuttonwrites.wordpress.com. And basically, it's a blog about living, loving, and being a black woman in the South. And I talk about everything from the crazy things my kids do to my dreams, my hopes, my fears, everything. And it's all in keeping with my personal brand. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about as far as personal. Whenever you apply for a job, or whenever you're about to make news, journalists, employers, they Google you. And I'm sure this is something you all know. They Google you, they're cyber stalking you, they're looking at your Facebook, your Twitter, your blog posts, and trying to see what kind of person you are, trying to gauge, do you have an online presence? If you do, are you doing a good job of branding yourself? So that's a question you need to ask yourself. What is your brand out there on social media? And that's something I have to ask myself even now that I'm working at UAB. When I blog and I tweet, I have to make sure, yes, I have a personal brand. My personal brand is Marie Sutton, wife, mommy, writer. That's what I want people to know about me. But I need to also make sure that nothing I say or do will tick off someone related to UAB, even though I'm not talking about anything related to UAB, but everything is connected, because on social media, if they see my picture with my blog post and then they go on the UAB News website and see my picture there, they'll put two and two together. So ask yourself, are you being too political in social media? Are you making your brand something that you don't want it to be? So you might from time to time want to Google yourself and see, what is the message? What's the takeaway? What are people saying about me? Speaking of that, I have Google alerts on myself, but also Google alerts on several faculty members here on campus, and phrases to find out what's going on. What are people talking about in regards to UAB, in regards to myself? So you might want to look at Google alerts, and I'm sure I'm telling you stuff you guys already know. When it comes to personal, like I said, make sure that you have your brand in your mind, and everything you do and you say, you have to think about that in mind, and making sure that you understand that whatever you say and whatever you put out there, somebody's gonna read it, and it could impact you for the good or for the bad. And the fact that you're even in this class getting more information about social media, about incorporating into your career, you are miles ahead of folks who are coming out there. So I really applaud you for doing that, and I think this is really going to help take you to the next level, because you're hearing from different people from different backgrounds, getting their tips, getting their tools, getting their secrets. And so when you walk out of the door with your degree, you'll be able to rock it. So that's just a little bit about me. It's a little bit about how I use Facebook with work and personal. My preference is for you to ask me questions so that I can answer you. I don't want to talk all the time. I'm very casual, I'm very laid back, so let's wake up people and just ask me some questions so we can just get this party started. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, so going back to the beginning, I know that you said that you use LinkedIn to kind of get started and get internships and jobs for communications. I'm just wondering, I know you have to start somewhere, but I'm a sophomore and I just sort of switched from focusing on sports journalism to broadcasting, and I don't really have any experience. I just sort of switched to that and started my major here. I'm just wondering, I know that LinkedIn is obviously a tool I need to use, but how did you get started? Like, if you don't have any experience to start off with, like, how did you even, like, go about, finding internships that way?
That's a good question, and Lord, LinkedIn wasn't even around when I was interning. But I would say, first of all, think about, you're saying you don't have experience, but think about it. Do you blog? Do you tweet? Have you helped someone at your church with something in communications? Just really sit down and examine and be, pat yourself on the back. Think about it. There's some experience that you have. You say you worked, your major was sports marketing.
I just transferred here from Kennesaw State in Georgia, so I just transferred here in January, and I switched from journalism because I like writing, but I'd rather, I guess I'm leaning more towards broadcasting because I have public speaking history, so.
So now, when you were at Kennesaw State, or even in just interacting with social groups or anything, did you write, or since you said that was your major initially, did you generate anything? Like, did you write? Even if it's, like I said, with your church or your social group or anything, think about anything that could be considered experience. Because you didn't live in a bubble from the moment you were born up until now. You interacted with people. You gained experience in different ways. So that's what I would say. I would say sit down and really think about the experience that you have gotten and the things that you've done. When I was in a sophomore in college, I went to Stillman College in Tuscaloosa. I was working with my church on the PR committee, writing press releases, even though they probably weren't very good press releases, but just doing various things. I wrote poetry. I just thought about different things that I do and that I did, whether or not it was a job necessarily, but something, you know, that you've done. Is there something that's popping in your mind or no?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I was involved in athletic ministries, and I was in charge of their marketing. So I did advertising and like Facebook posts and Twitter.
Boom, boom, boom. So I mean, there you go. You help facilitate and coordinate marketing for an athletic ministry. That's awesome. Put that on there. Don't just think about, oh my God, I thought I had my phone on silent. Is that my phone? Don't just think about, oh, I had an official job at this place from this date to that date. Everything you do, you're gaining experience, relationships, connections. And so that is very impressive. I would definitely put that on there. And you have you say you majored in writing. You have the writing skills. I know you're transitioning over into broadcast, but let me tell you something. It is extremely important that you can write. If you can't write and you're going into broadcast, it's gonna be a problem. You know, so that is a great foundational experience that you have acquired, the writing. And that is gonna help you with your experience in broadcast. So think about any little thing. I mean, you may think it's minute, but you just told me you basically help facilitate the marketing for an athletic ministries. That's huge. Facebook, tweeting, that's experience. So put it out there. Let folks know about that.
Your class project, I think, is going to be huge.
That's what I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
Should I tell?
Yeah.
Okay. We're all doing a class project, and each group has a different focus on a certain campaign. And my group, we came up with the idea to do student-athlete profiles, and we're going to be interviewing different student-athletes on campus, sort of trying to draw attention to athletes and just giving an everyday look at what it's like to be a student-athlete at UAB. Because a lot of people don't really know, like they just see us wear the green and gold and they're like, oh, they're athletes, you know. And actually one of my roommates just told me sort of like a stereotype about athletes. She said that we're spoiled. And that we get to like cut in front of people at the lunch line or whatever, and I don't, just like stuff like that, you know. We get some perks being athletes, but it's really tough. So we're just trying to sort of shed light on that. And
that's awesome. I would include that. You're telling their stories, and that's what journalists do. They're storytellers. You want to go into broadcast journalism, and so you are working with athletes. You want to go into athletic sports. Yeah. I mean, my goodness, you're doing exactly what you're going to be doing after graduation. So I would put all of that on there. I think that's fabulous. And also I would think of innovative and creative ways to tell their stories. Just like you said, folks have these assumptions about athletes. So talk about that, you know, because, you know, people, you don't want to go the cliche route when it comes to telling a story. I interviewed, I don't think it was last year, maybe the year before, but one of the student athletes, he was a basketball player. He was the first in his family to graduate. He's from Chicago. He was like a star athlete here. I can't even remember his name more. But we just find out the heart of the story and what's unique about it. And don't think of the cliche way to tell the story. And I think you're already thinking about that. And those stories and the way you tell those stories, that's going to help people see, oh, she has a great ability to be a storyteller. And that's, as a journalist, that's what you are. So I think that's really cool. I would definitely include that on my LinkedIn and maybe even links to those stories.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out a way to like put it on there, because like how do I just say, oh, class project where I interviewed people, like, you know, I guess I'm just thinking because I don't have like a job experience yet. Mm-hmm. Like how do I make it look legit, I guess?
Well, like, you know, definitely, like you say, you have to be innovative as far as how you describe things. Served as are you facilitating the project? Are you coordinating? Are you working in conjunction with students? Or how's that work? Are you leading the project?
Kind of, Kathleen and I are kind of heading both parts of the project right now.
Yeah, so you are coordinating a project, and make sure whenever you describe things, use action words, use verbs, don't use passive language. So you co-directed a project and served as a storyteller for these athletes. You know, don't, like I said, don't just think about, oh, I don't have an official job doing this. Because look, when I got this job at UAB, I was a freelancer. You know, even though I've worked literally, you'll come to find out, I've probably had every job in Birmingham as it relates to communications because I have different interests. But, you know, it's hard for a freelancer to get a job, a traditional job, when you're out serving as a freelancer. But because everything I do, I put that down because that's experience I've gained. That makes me more marketable. And it may not say I worked at this company from this date to this date, but I am a storyteller. I am a ghostwriter. I was a ghostwriter for a book. I ghostwrote a book. Just think of what you're doing. You're a storyteller. You are a director. You're a facilitator. You're a coordinator. You know, think about words like that and be as descriptive and as specific as you can with your descriptions. And don't worry about it. Get that out of your head that it has to be a job. I worked at company ABC from this day to this day. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You are acquiring great experience. When you walk out the door, not only do you have this awesome class, but you have experience having coordinated marketing. Now you're serving as a storyteller for athletes. You're doing some really cool things. So I would include all of that. Yes.
What was the final thing you were doing, like right before your career really sparked in the social communications world? Whether you were interning or if there were certain companies that you were specifically working in Birmingham, like where was the peak of like your career with social media?
Social media. And see, like I said, when I started, we were faxing. So this job, I would say, was the peak for social media for me because the last job I had before I worked at UAB, I was working in communications at St. Vincent's Health System, and we weren't even utilizing social media the way we should have probably because it just wasn't. I mean, we were just doing it traditional, and that was in the year 2008 when I left. And after that, though, when I was a freelancer, I think I definitely used social media more because it was all about a brand. When you're in freelance, you want everybody to know who you are and what you can do so they can call you and write you a check. So as a freelancer, so I would even back up before UAB, I would say as a freelancer, because I was trying to create that brand for myself. Blogging, tweeting, Facebook. So because I had that mission of that brand. So that's what I would say, yeah. Thank you for helping me think that through.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes.
Do you guys have rules for yourselves as far as how much you tweet out each day and checking up on each other and stuff like that? I know you said there's several people.
Yes, that's a good question. We have 8 media specialists, and we have that one Twitter account at UAB News. Now, some of us have our own UAB Twitter accounts, but that's a good question. We try not to step on each other because that can happen. Like, if I have a colleague who has a awesome story, a story I think is awesome, they want to tweet it out, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just tweeted my story out 2 minutes ago. Now, hold on, give it time to marinate. So we did kind of bump heads that way, but then we decided, okay, we all have our Hootsuite up on our screens, and so before we tweet, we make it a rule. Okay, our colleague tweeted. Let's give them a few minutes to let it marinate, to let it go out into the universe, and so then we'll follow up and tweet because we were tweeting on top of each other. But so now, because we realize that's not a benefit to us as an organization, so we keep our Hootsuite up, and we're looking at, okay, so-and-so down the hall just tweeted. Let me give her a few minutes. Let me give her about 20 minutes or so. But if it's a big story, you know, then I'll give her a few minutes so that I can tweet. And then also, like I said, most of us have our own UAB account. Like mine is, and I'm working on it, y'all. It's Marie at UAB, because I mainly tweet through UAB News. But so that helps too, because since we all have our own beats, and it's just like journalists. Journalists now have the task of branding themselves and their beat. So for example, you have a reporter who's an education reporter. He wants to be known by all the higher ed folks. He wants to be known by the universities, and he wants his stories to go to that certain audience. And so each of us, since we have our own beats, we want to cater to that specific audience as well. So we're incorporating our own Twitter accounts. But that's a very good question. Yes, at first we were like bumping on top of each other, tweeting on top of each other. And so we had to set that rule that yes, so-and-so just tweeted, let's give them a few minutes, and then we'll tweet. Any more questions? I know I'm very chatty and verbose, yes.
That's good. Can you talk about Google Alerts? I've actually never used them before. I don't know much about them, and we haven't talked about them in class. So.
Yeah, Google Alerts. I love Google Alerts because there's so much going on out there. You got traditional media, you have bloggers, you have Facebook, Twitter. So if I want to know what folks are saying about, for example, I mentioned Dr. Sarah Parkett, who I love. So I have Google has the option where you can go search Google Alerts, just type in Google Alerts, and you can put in quotations phrases that if people mention that via blog, via tweet, via whatever, they'll send you an alert and let you know. For example, Sarah Parkett, I have her name in quotes. So that means exactly, Sarah Parkett. Whenever that comes up, Google will send me an email, and he can either send it instantly or just a report at the end of the day, at the end of the week, however you set it up. So I find out, oh my goodness, they're talking about Dr. Parkett on the TED Twitter account because her TED Talk was up. Or I found out that, I'm just making this up. I mean, because I know all this stuff, of course, because I'm on top of it. Yeah, right. But if there's a news story that popped up in her hometown that I didn't know was going on, I'll find out through Google Alert. And like I said, I have my name in a Google Alert too. I mean, sometimes people are talking about me, I don't even know about it until I get the daggone Google Alert because they're posting one of my stories or something from the past. And so it's very important to have your name as a Google Alert and your client. So I have University of Alabama at Birmingham as a Google Alert. So different phrases, different names, different things. If you're in the athletic industry, so if you want to Google Alert Birmingham soccer or whatever, and so anytime people are talking about this on the internet, it'll pop up and send you an alert. I am all about those Google Alerts. So I have Google Alerts coming to my phone all day because I have lots of different professors who I consider the superstars or whatever. And so when people are talking about them, I want to make sure I know about it. And I can retweet some stuff that people are talking about. People may be tweeting saying, oh my goodness, Dr. Parkett is the greatest professor in the world. So I will take that and I'll retweet that from UAB News. So jump on top of those Google Alerts because it lets you know what people are saying. And it's free. I'm all about the freeness as well. Any more questions?
Well, thank you so much for coming.